Coming up, the fight for Santa Monica is looking promising. Flying with vampires, Black Ops in a Bonanza, teaching missionaries to fly, and an ice bucket challenge, well, like you haven't seen before. AOPA Live this week starts in a splash.
From your first skyward glance, the dream of flight compelled you. And from your first glimpse of a cirrus, you realized that dream had a name. Cirrus Aircraft. Go where you've never been before.
So we're here tonight just to say thank you for your support so far, and keep it going. We're going to need your help. It's a local effort, but it matters to the rest of the country. Good luck.
It's a 54-year battle, but we just might be close to winning it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to AOPA Live this week. I'm Tom Haynes. It's one of our nation's most storied airports. It helped win World War II and establish commercial air service. Famous aircraft with names beginning with DC started here. But starting as early as 1960, short-sighted city fathers have been trying to turn Santa Monica Airport into high-rises and strip malls. Monday night, a group of pilots and non-pilots from Santa Monica gathered the community to gain more support for the effort to save the airport.
I want to be clear about what it is we need from you, the SMO community. We need you to talk to your neighbors. We need you to express support for Measure D, for the airport. Now, I know that many of you may not live in Santa Monica, but talk to your family, talk to your friends, talk to colleagues, talk to neighbors. You never know, even if you don't live in the city, you never know who someone that you know or someone that you talk to does live in the city. I mean, that's the way a lot of grassroots campaigns get won. And believe me, we are going to be, and we are, a grassroots campaign.
The campaign is for Measure D on this November's ballot, a change to the city charter sponsored by Santa Monicans for open and honest development decisions, a change that would let the voters, not just the city council, decide the airport's future.
I think it's important for all of us as pilots to help the people in our community understand the basic issue here. Do you want the future of this airport decided by 7 people? Or do you think it has value for this to be a citywide debate?
And there are plenty of good reasons why the voters would want to keep the airport.
We all know how absolutely important this airport is from a business perspective. We know that the airport has well over 175 separate businesses here that exist because of Santa Monica Airport, employing over 1,500 people. Estimates are that the airport generates over $250 million in economic activity.
But it doesn't generate a lot of traffic and street congestion, and Santa Monica Airport gives quality of life benefits far beyond the city.
There's a reason why Venice Beach doesn't look like Miami Beach or Honolulu with the high rises. And it's called Part 77, or Santa Monica Airport. We take for granted the fact that Santa Monica Airport airspace exists, as Christian said, and it extends for almost 4 miles around the airport. That goes to beyond Marina del Rey, up to Pacific Palisades, up to Century City. Have you ever thought and wondered why Century City stops where it does? It's because of Santa Monica Airport.
But Santa Monica Airport doesn't stand alone, which is why the National Business Aviation Association and AOPA are putting so much effort behind the fight to save it.
But it is about this worldwide, mostly North American ecosystem. This is one of 5,000 public use airports. That's all of them are important. If they started to disappear one by one, we don't have an ecosystem. That's what we do at AOPA, is trying to make sure that this legacy of Donald Douglas operating an aircraft company here since the 1920s, building great airplanes like the DC-2, the DC-3, and everybody knows the other aircraft that were built here, a truly landmark airport that's really important as part of this ecosystem and all the wonderful things that other groups do around this airport. We're here to support you and all of you to make sure we can get this campaign done.
Polling shows the majority of Santa Monicans support the airport. They don't want the land redeveloped. If you'd like to help airport supporters get that message out to all city voters, visit smvotersdecide.com. Well, and as you just heard, the FAA rules on airspace obstruction can have an effect on entire communities. It falls under FAR Part 77, and that's something we at AOPA are intimately familiar with. And joining us now on the AOPA Live stage is our advocacy advocate, Melissa Rudinger. And Melissa, we do a lot of work on airspace, don't we?
Part 77 is where the FAA regulates objects sticking up into airspace. In general, anything that extends more than 200 feet above the ground requires an airspace study. Closer to airports, anything above the ground will be looked at. So if an object is a hazard to air navigation, the FAA will find a way to mitigate that danger. Now, the FAA can't actually stop somebody from building something, but there are some pretty powerful ways to persuade them not to do it. For example, AOPA has worked with states and local jurisdictions to pass zoning regulations that prohibit construction of anything that would be a hazard to navigation. And development companies typically can't get insurance on a building that's considered to be a hazard.
Well, thanks, Melissa. Now to our biggest issue, national issue of the week, of course, third-class medical reform. What happened this week on that?
Yes, that is a top issue, continues to be a top issue, and every day we are pushing forward on it. AOPA's Washington staff has been up on Capitol Hill talking to congressmen and senators about the issue, explaining why the rule is so important to us, and also why GA safety would not be degraded if the rule took effect. Our folks worked with members of the GA caucus in the Congress to get this letter to the Secretary of Transportation. The DOT is right now reviewing the FAA's proposed changes to the medical certificate rules, and 32 members of the House GA caucus asked the Transportation Secretary, Anthony Fox, to expedite that review and get the proposed rule out for public comment.
Okay, be anxious to see how all that comes about. Well, here's a question for you. What if you could increase safety in your airplane for less than 1.5 aviation units? Well, that's $1,500 to your spouse. Well, SafeFlight has developed an angle of attack system that does much more than help pilots fly precise approaches and avoid stalls. The company's SCX is a non-TSO system that also shows the best angles to fly for maximum rate, angle of climb, range, and endurance. Pilots can see at a glance whether an airplane is flying too fast, too slow, or just right for the desired phase of flight. You can read more about the device on AOPA.org. You can also find an extended video story on the SCX at AOPAlive.org. Well, after more than 2 decades with AOPA, our top safety expert is retiring, sort of. Most of you know Bruce Landsberg as the president of the AOPA Foundation. He's led the fundraising, charitable, and safety efforts for us for 22 years. Bruce will transition out as AOPA welcomes Jim Minow to head the AOPA Foundation and George Perry to lead the Air Safety Institute. Bruce will not give it up completely. We can't get rid of him that easily. He is transitioning to an advisory role for us. Best wishes, Bruce and Jan. Enjoy semi-retirement and aircraft ownership, too. Well, speaking of safety, by now many of us take for granted weather data in the cockpit. Whether it comes from ADS-B or satellite, data link information changed the way we fly. The Air Safety Institute takes a look at the technology's history and the people who made it happen. Their documentary, Data Link from Concept to Cockpit, hits screens this week.
We were able to take this weather and strip it off and put it on our GPS moving map that we had developed. And bingo, we looked at this and said, wow, maybe this could be the breakthrough that we're looking for. And we started to download this information, always rather expensive at $1 an image. We were transferring the information through a cell phone at the time into the cockpit, and then flew and then compared all the data afterwards to see how well this thing worked. Well, we were absolutely shocked at how accurate it was.
Look for a link in this week's ePilot newsletter. Not subscribed yet? You can get all set up at aopa.org/apps/ePilot. Coming up after the break, what exactly is a QU-22B, the Black Ops Bonanza from Vietnam, and negative G's for a positive cause? AOPA Live this week continues in just a moment.
As far as the verb camera goes, it's the solution. We've used every other action camera and we've thrown them all away or given them away because now we have 5 verbs and they're all over our airplanes and we wouldn't use anything else.
Welcome back. You're watching AOPA Live this week. I'm Tom Haynes. Well, you know, I thought he knew a lot about bonanzas, but I too had to ask the question, what the heck is a QU-22B? It's a question those who flew the airplane are used to answering. In Vietnam, 27 of the highly modified Bonanzas were used for top-secret signals intelligence. And decades after the conflict ended, the men who flew the QU-22B Pave Eagle, call sign Vampire, are gathering again around a fully restored example. You can see more on the rare airplane in the September digital edition of AOPA Pilot Magazine. It's out now. This week, California's Napa Valley is recovering from a 6.0 earthquake. Many buildings are damaged from the quake. That includes the Napa Airport Tower. NATCA reports that 8 of 10 windows are busted out of the cab. The building was deemed unsafe. Until repairs are made, pilots are asked to use the Unicom frequency to call traffic. Pilots like to fit the aircraft to the mission. You fly a J3 Cub for a different purpose than you would a Cessna CJ, for example. AOPA Live executive producer Warren Morningstar introduces us to an aircraft and a company that have a very special mission in mind.
The Quest Kodiak is an impressive performance.
Sea level on a standard day, it's about 750 feet of ground roll and another 700 feet for the 50-foot obstacles. It's nice, it's balanced. It uses about the same amount of runway for takeoff and landing in a given density altitude.
Now that's 750 feet carrying a ton of cargo on unimproved strips.
It's got an excellent power-to-weight ratio. I mean, the PT6 engine, obviously we know the reliability of that. And because it's been matched to the airframe well, it gives the plane exceptional performance. The other thing that makes it really unique is the wing design. The wing has 2 completely distinct airfoils on it, and so it gives you good cruise speed, good range, good altitude selection. And then at the same time, you can fly the thing at 45 knots indicated with almost any flap setting, and you're still flying, so full control of the airplane.
And that's more important when you're trying to land on an uphill mountain strip over trees in the jungles of Indonesia. This airplane fits the mission, and that's why it's become the choice of missionary pilots. Your choice for training? Spokane Turbine Center.
Spokane Turbine Center is set up to train missionary pilots and nonprofit pilots for service around the world.
Pilots come from around the world to transition to the Kodiak. STC is a nonprofit supported by donations so that it can train missionary and NGO pilots at an affordable price, about $25 an hour. It's intensive training in the type of bush flying common to missionary work.
We haul everything from pigs to presidents. Ordinarily, we're hauling mixed loads, cargo, the groceries, everything that's got to go into the village for the missionaries, along with transporting people to and from the village.
STC has a full-motion Kodiak simulator, the only one in existence. Pilots get a thorough checkout on the Garmin G1000 and the care and feeding of a PT6.
If you make a mistake in a PT6 in a turbine-equipped aircraft, it can get really expensive very fast.
And hands-on flying Kodiak serial number 1.
They're using this plane to its fuller capabilities. They're landing on grass strips, which this plane's designed for, but more than that, they're landing on slope strips. They're flying in confined valleys, and they're really using it for a short takeoff and landing environment.
In East Indonesia, it's very mountainous, very rugged jungle terrain, and there's no roads basically at all into the interior areas where there's a very large number of disparate tribal groups up in these mountains that the missionaries have been reaching since the 60s and 70s.
Jay Pemberton left a career as a software engineer for a more fulfilling mission.
Now that they've established airstrips at almost all the major villages in the interior areas, there's still no roads. Missionary planes are the only way in or out.
It's like that all over the Third World, and it's dangerous work. Ken Small flew missions in and out of southern Sudan.
We found a bullet in an airplane belly once, so we don't know where we got it. So there is danger, and everyone has a gun, and they're not very disciplined at times. But we were flying for a specific purpose, and we definitely believe that God was protecting us and giving us the direction to go there. It's not safe. But it is the right thing to do, and it is a mission that's important, so that's why we were there.
And that's why they do it.
Mission aviation was attractive to me because I felt like I could do what I enjoyed doing, flying, and be helping people that really needed aviation service in a remote part of the world that, they need food and medicine and doctors and all these things that airplanes can provide. So it was very inspiring to me and gave me a great sense of fulfillment and purpose to be using the airplane, be doing a really fun job, but be helping people.
It's a heart of service, but it's both. It's both. I mean, they're hoping, I would say, missionaries are living out the calling that God calls us to serve humanity, to serve one another. They're living it out, and at some point they're hoping that somebody goes, what's different? Why are you different than all these others that are just here to take things from us?
They also need to understand that there's a better way. Our goal was to try to see their hearts changed and for them to understand that there is a God who loves them. And we believe that if we can help change their hearts, that a lot of the other problems will start to go away.
In Spokane, Washington, Warren Morningstar, AOPA Live.
Thanks, Warren. Good folks doing an important mission. If you'd like to contribute to Spokane Turbine Center's mission, visit their website at the address there on your screen. They also have an affiliated business, Park Water Aviation, that provides training for other Kodiak pilots. The Honda Jet is making waves. Designer and Honda Jet CEO Mikimasa Fujino is being honored by SAE International. The group represents 145,000 automotive and aerospace engineers. They are presenting Fujino with their prestigious Design Innovation Award. The honor is one in a long list and earned by the clean sheet Honda Jet design. Deliveries of the airplane are set to start next year. We'll have a cold, taking something for it perhaps. Better be careful to check the ingredients. In this Flywell segment, Dr. Jonathan Sakier tells you not to be a dope, either over the counter or illicitly.
Shooting approaches at Brownfield KSDM in Southern California near the Mexican border. ATC might say, 2 Tango Alpha, traffic 9 o'clock, same altitude, 1 mile, northbound. Identified type and color, no radio contact. Might that aircraft be smuggling? But drugs board small planes in other, equally disturbing ways. In July 2013, Oklahoma's News 9 reported fatal aviation accidents involving pilots using undeclared or illegal medications, including marijuana, cocaine, and amphetamines, but also mundane, over-the-counter, OTC, pharmaceuticals like diphenhydramine, which is commonly included in many cold medications. Illicit drug abuse alters perception, judgment, and behavior, diminishes reaction times, and impairs coordination. Alcohol, while legal, unfortunately contributes to aviation accident statistics, and this should never happen. But even OTC medications may not be safe when flying. For instance, the aforementioned diphenhydramine causes drowsiness. Beware products promising improved sleep or reduced secretions. You might end up sleeping permanently, never worrying about secretions again. With a cold or flu, quite frankly, you shouldn't be flying anyway. Pressure changes can seriously damage your eardrum, and viral illnesses impair judgment and performance. So hit the sack, sip some chicken soup, and review old issues of AOPA Pilot. Diphenhydramine has a variable but fairly long half-life, ranging from 8 to 17 hours, and FAA states that flying is prohibited for 5 times the half-life of the drug after using any medication that may adversely affect flying. So for diphenhydramine, this could be 85 hours, nearly 4 days. Bear this in mind when medicating for a virus, allergies, or insomnia, as the drug is still on board and you're a hazard to safe aviation. There are safe medications to take, so peruse the AOPA online database and FAA Education Division brochure on flying and medications. In fact, before a doctor prescribes any new medication for your use, check these assets or speak to your AME. Remember, you have to report all interactions with doctors at your physical, and that is not the time to discover you've been taking a non-approved drug. Pilots ask me why FAA does not allow certain newer FDA-approved medications. Simply put, to obtain market release, pharmaceutical companies must jump through certain regulatory hoops, one of which is not impact on the ability to control an aircraft. So FAA likes some additional time to elapse from initial use to ensure unexpected side effects that might compromise flight are not popping up. So if a new medicine is recommended to you, talk to your AME and check with Pilot Protection Services for advice on alternative therapies that are acceptable to our friends in Oklahoma. Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, are primarily used for mild to moderate depression, and in 2010, 4 were approved by FAA for pilot use. These meds are now ubiquitous, and if prescribed for anxiety or other issues, be aware that the certification process is quite complex. Another area of concern are medications for chronic pain. Previously, doctors only used pain relievers, analgesics. However, now drugs developed to treat a range of disorders are being utilized, including amitriptyline and gabapentin, neither of which have a safe enough adverse effect profile to consider for use in aviation. So if chronic pain is sadly in your life, explore some options with a pain specialist. So unlike that errant aircraft heading north, do not cross the border between safe and unsafe flight, and treat drugs with the respect they're due.
Thanks, Jonathan. Good advice. You can get more medical tips and tricks from Dr. Jonathan Sekier in the Flywell column of AOPA Pilot magazine. By now, we've all seen so many of the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge videos, but airshow performer, race pilot, and time to climb record holder Bruce Bohannon has a fresh take on the idea. Bruce took off with a bucket of water on his chest, then entered a negative G maneuver which got him right in the face with the water. Bruce, great way to support a great cause, and we gotta love the AOPA 75th anniversary hat. By the way, Bruce challenged everyone in aviation to take the challenge next, so go get wet or pay up. And that's going to do it for us this week. We hope you get some time in the air this holiday weekend. I'm certainly planning on it. We'll see you back here next Thursday. I'm Tom Haynes. Thanks for watching.